He looked like someone you'd pass on the street without a second glance. Quiet, intelligent, polite. And that's exactly why no one saw it coming. England, early 1960s. Post-war optimism fills the air. Suburban neighborhoods feel safe. Children roam freely. In this ordinary world lives a man who blends in perfectly. Well-read, articulate, calm, almost charming. People describe him as serious, but harmless. To outsiders, his life looks stable. A job, a routine, opinions about books, politics, music. Nothing that suggests danger. Someone you might trust. Someone you wouldn't question. That's the terrifying part. Because behind closed doors, something is forming. Not suddenly, not explosively, but slowly. Like a crack spreading through glass. At first, there's nothing concrete. Just intensity. A coldness in certain conversations. A fascination with power and control that makes others uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough to speak up. Disturbing comments are brushed off as dark humor. Strange behavior is excused as eccentricity. Back then, people didn't talk about red flags. Mental health wasn't openly discussed. And evil didn't look monstrous. It looked like a man who kept to himself. Life goes on. Children walk home alone. Neighbors trust each other. And the man everyone thinks they know continues living a double life, unnoticed. This isn't the story of someone who snapped. It's the story of someone hiding in plain sight. The mask didn't slip all at once. It never does. What changed wasn't how he looked to others. It was what was growing inside him. A need. Not for money or attention, but for control. Absolute control. He retreated further into his own mind, spending long hours reading about violence, domination, and ideology, not out of curiosity, but recognition. These ideas didn't shock him. They felt familiar. At the same time, emotional distance grew. Relationships weren't about connection. They were about usefulness. People weren't individuals. They were components in a system he believed he understood better than anyone else. Then came a turning point. He found someone who didn't challenge his darkness, but mirrored it. Instead of resistance, there was validation. Instead of judgment, encouragement. Fantasies once locked away were now spoken aloud, refined, reinforced. This is where thought becomes rehearsal. Together, they tested boundaries. Small actions at first. Each success without consequence made the next step easier. Each risk that went unpunished reinforced the belief that they were smarter than everyone else. There was no chaos yet. No panic. Just planning. Timing. Confidence. And society helped them. No surveillance. No digital footprints. Trust was everywhere, and easy to exploit. The line between fantasy and reality blurred until action felt inevitable. By now, there was no guilt. Only anticipation. The first time it happened, the world didn't stop. No alarms. No immediate consequences. No one came running. And that silence was dangerous. What followed wasn't a single act, but a pattern. Familiar places. Carefully chosen moments. Victims who trusted the people in front of them. From the outside, nothing seemed wrong. Streets stayed quiet. Families believed their children were safe. But beneath that normality, fear began spreading, slowly, invisibly, as children started vanishing. Not all at once. One by one. Each case was treated as isolated. A runaway. A misunderstanding. A coincidence. Police lacked the tools and the framework to see the pattern forming. Meanwhile, the perpetrators grew bolder. Planning became routine. Mistakes were analyzed. Empathy disappeared entirely. Victims were no longer seen as human beings, only roles in a fantasy of dominance. And afterward, they returned to normal life. Work. Conversations. Laughter. Blending back into society as if nothing had happened. That ability to switch it off allowed the violence to continue far longer than anyone imagined. Fear crept into the community. Curfews tightened. Trust eroded. Everyone felt it, but no one knew where to look. It didn't begin with a dramatic breakthrough. It began with unease. Officers compared notes. Too many details felt similar. Locations, ages, timing. Coincidences formed a shape. And once a pattern is seen, it can't be unseen. Pressure mounted. Media attention intensified. Fear became public, then political. Assumptions were no longer acceptable. Witnesses were re-interviewed. Old statements reread. Dismissed details suddenly mattered. A repeated sighting. A familiar name. A connection that finally made sense. And then came the mistakes. Confidence turned into carelessness. Routines became predictable. Arrogance replaced caution. A wrong moment. A trace left behind. When confrontation came, it wasn't cinematic. No chase. No confession. Just the sudden collapse of control. Arrest. Shock rippled outward. Neighbors struggled to reconcile accusations with the person they thought they knew. Some denied it. Others felt sick realizing how close they had been. The question echoed everywhere. How long did this happen right under our noses? The courtroom felt heavy, not peaceful, but unbearable. As evidence was laid out piece by piece, rumors hardened into facts. Timelines were reconstructed. Missed chances exposed. Every detail reopened wounds that would never fully heal. There was no redemption, only realization. Psychologists searched for explanations. Narcissism, sadism, shared delusion. Labels for something deeply intentional. This wasn't madness. It was sustained, calculated, and utterly devoid of empathy. The sentence ended the threat, but not the story. Policing changed. Trust was re-examined. Parents no longer assumed safety. Society learned, painfully, that evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it looks exactly like someone you'd never suspect. And that may be the most disturbing lesson of all. Because danger isn't always obvious. And monsters don't always look like monsters.